Hey there, guys, and I'm back. Yeah, I felt rough last weekend, so there was no videos. I was absolutely shocking. Huge thank you to everybody who's given me well-beings and all the kind words, and I really appreciate it. Love you guys to bits. Anyway, enough of that nonsense. First thing I want to discuss is subsistence. Now, I still get a lot of comments and a lot of views on my survival guides to subsistence. So many people out there that still struggle to survive within that game for various reasons. And the developer has just made it even more of a nightmare. Just bear with me. This isn't actually a bad thing. I like what I'm reading. So he's released an update called the Seasons, and it's exactly as you would think. It is seasons, as in you've got snow, you've got spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Basically, I'm really eager to test out these mechanics. Apparently, each season lasts around 14 real-time hours, something like that. I think that's like I'm not too sure how many game days that is. The developer has said that he would like to tweak that, or tweak it, or allow players to tweak it to their liking. But let's just break it down a little bit to what he says. So, Alpha 50 finally brings seasons to the games. The world will now dynamically transition through all 4 seasons, affecting both the visual aesthetic and many gameplay mechanics. And that excites me. The fact that it's now going to breathe new life into the world, as we see in the transition of the different seasons, how the landscape changes with flowers and trees and the lakes icing over and things like, it's just crazy. The snow as well, snowfall for winter. So it says here, in early spring, grass will start to grow and sprout on assortments of flowers across the various meadows, woodland and mountain slopes. Trees that have shed their leaves will regrow their canopies. Rivers and lakes will thaw as the daily temperatures rise. So this is coming out of the winter season and into spring, and it means that all the greenery, can't speak, greenery will become lush. Flowers will be blossoming, and the world should be like beautiful again. And then we get to the summer period. The grass starts to dry out, and you forage around for it. You'll get less. You'll get. It says. Well, let's just read what it says here. The spring foliage recedes, and much of the grass will go to seed. So yeah, you'll be able to gather seeds from there, and basically the grass will be brown. What grass there will be, and it should sort of like decline. Temperatures will be high, so that means that you run the risk of dehydration more frequently as you traversing the landscape and doing your hunting. So that's something you need to be aware of. I mean, there's always been dehydration in the game, but these seasons now bring even more effect into it, and we'll see later on in the details about that. So fall, as fall settles in and heat subsides, the trees and foliage will transition to autumnal shades of reds, oranges and browns. Dead leaves will blow in the wind as the moose enter their rutting season, which is another mechanic that he's brought into it, and it's something we're going to take a look at shortly. It's quite an interesting mechanic, let's just say that. Winter brings harsh cold temperatures, snow and blizzards. The rivers and lakes will freeze. Many species of trees will become bare of leaves. Much of the grass will die or be buried by the snow. The severity of the cold temperatures and heats during summer are adjusted for easy, normal and hardcore modes. So yeah, that again, it's a whole new mechanic to the game, and there's always been a little bit of cold in the game, particularly at night times, but now there is actually the winter season, and with that he's also brought in some new things to craft, which we're going to have a look at Now, it's got a quick sneak peek here. Let's have a quick look. So here we got the winter season. Wow, that looks harsh. And as we'll see here, the river has frozen. It's just awesome. Awesome. Yeah. Ooh, cracking. Now, it'll be interesting to see if the developer at a later time makes this so there's different thickness of ice and you run a risk of falling through it. That'll be interesting to see. And then he gets into his base. We've got the usual fireplace there, but I'm not so sure if he's going to show it. It doesn't look like he's showing the extra features. Oh, there it is, the radiator. We now have radiators which will radiate heat and give more heat than the actual fireplace, which I think is pretty darn cool. So, snowfall, ground snow accumulation is based on snowfall, meaning as winter rolls in, is the weather that will dictate the build-up of snow on the ground and rock formations. So that makes it sound quite kind of like a real-time effect. I'm actually interested to play and come into that season and see how the snow comes in, whether it's a gradual thing or if the landscape just suddenly turns white. So we'll see about that. That'll be interesting. I think I would be interested to probably start a new series for this game. These mechanics kind of like blow away some of the survival tips that I provided, and actually adding to it. I think the basic core of what I provided in the survival videos is still right, still pretty accurate, but with these it brings whole new mechanics to it, which expands on it. So I might cover it by doing some gameplay videos in various chapters, sort of thing. Yeah, a series of videos for it, survival. If you guys would be interested in that, then yeah, smash the like button and maybe post a comment down below. And yeah, I'm really quite excited about it. So here we go. We got heat, hydration, cold, protein depletion. Getting too cold will now slowly deplete protein levels, and while too hot will deplete hydration levels faster than usual. Which is, I think it's further enhancing on the mechanics he already had in there. When you got cold, your protein levels did drop a little bit faster. And get too hot, well, of course, you got a bit more dehydrated, but it'll be having more of an effect due to the seasons now in the game, which I think is awesome. It's going to make it very hard, but awesome. So, yeah, you've got different clothing items will affect this level. If the temperature rises above this level, the player will start to lose hydration at a faster rate, and this will be indicated by hot status in a icon. So I'm assuming that would indicate you being too hot. So yeah, the radiators, as we quickly glimpsed within that video, when you craft them, and they are going to be expensive by the looks of it. So you use scrap metal and metal ingots as well, circuits, something or other, and yeah, to make the radiators. But they will provide much more heat than the little stove that we're used to using in the game world, and they would definitely be required within the winter period. And from what I'm read, it will use the base's power to actually power up the radiator and heat it up. There's also going to be air conditioners, or there are air conditioners now in the game, which will be useful for those hot summer periods to help cool you down in your base. And again, these would use base power. Got new indicators to indicate your status. So radiator meaning comfort, and if you've got your radiator set up and you're getting comforted by your radiator, it can also help regen your health a little bit faster. Air conditioning applies as well. So what it's saying here is that 86% radiator is what what's provided, where it'll give you the regen sort of thing. Also in the hot summer days, when you got the cooling, that comfort from the cool air conditioning will actually help with your health, compared to the campfire, which will provide 73% in performance on your health regeneration. So you would actually now be able to gather snow, melting snow, in your canteen in the winter periods, which you then would, I would assume, you would have to actually heat on in some kind of fire or something to defrost it and melt it down to make it drinkable. And this is where we come into the moose rutting season. And basically what's that saying is that in certain seasons, the moose won't be so scared. They will stand and fight. So if we have a look here, during mid-September through mid-October, moose will enter their rutting season. During this period, they will become highly aggressive, and instead of fleeing the players, will stand their ground and attack or chase. So new mechanic for the moose there, making them a bit more of a threat. We already had the bears and the wolves, which are quite a threat. And also you got the, what's the big cat thing called? The coyote? Something like that. I can't remember. It's been a long time since I had a look at it. So, but yeah, it's another animal to watch out for in that season. So frozen rivers and lakes. With the depth of winter, the rivers and lakes will freeze over, as we'd already mentioned earlier, which is pretty cool. There are the white wolves, which will come out in the winter time while the bears go into hibernation. So it says here, during the winter months, bear will go into hibernation and white wolves will emerge into the landscape, which is going to be interesting. Now, they have more hit points than standard wolves, and but they will yield more loot if you actually take them down. Cotton as well. During the fall months, cotton can be found and picked around the world, but these plants will give you one piece of cotton. I would assuming they would be hard or near impossible to find in the winter period, so you want to get them within the right season to ensure that you get as much as you can before the winter sets in, unless of course you plant your own, which thanks to the weather, it would probably be advisable to have your own little greenhouse thing just to protect your vegetation and your plants. Water temperatures. Previously, water temperatures were the same as the world temperatures, apart from the -4 degrees Celsius wetness penalty. Water temperature is now treated separately, so water will not match the temperature of the outside world. You will it can get cold, or it could potentially get hotter depending on the season. To go with the winter season that's available, there is now the winter jacket, which can be crafted. That seems to use cotton, woolen cloth. You know, honestly, it's been a while since I've looked at this, so I've forgotten what some of these resources are. So I definitely do need to look into it. But yeah, we've got the winter jacket there. There's also a sweater as well, which you'll be able to craft as well, which will be useful for the winter period. Weapon usage, damage and maintenance. So firearms and bows now take usage damage. Once depleted of health, they will become unusable and require maintenance. So that means that you could loot all the weapons you want, but you will not be able to use them indefinitely. They will wear down and break. The same can be said for clothes as well. Clothing damage and repairs. Clothing now also takes damage and will need to be repaired. So damage is caused to items depending on where the damage was inflicted. Once worn clothing is reduced to 0 health, it will be moved into the main inventory. But if your inventory is full, be aware that you could drop those clothing items. You will hear an audible ripping sound when a clothing item's health reaches 0. So many mechanics. This developer, he just never ceases to amaze what he's bringing to the table with this game. He really is moving it along and making it one of the most in-depth survival games with so many mechanics. It'll be interesting to see how well balanced out he has it at the moment, because as is usually the case when the big updates like these land, there tends to be bugs or there's balancing issues. So we've got things like heat packs as well, which would clearly be useful for the winter periods to keep you warm for very short periods of time. So it says in normal and hardcore modes, players spawned in the wilderness during winter will be issued a free heat pack as part of their starting loadout to help with their journey back to base. So yeah, so if you're starting off in the cold periods, you'll get one of these and make the use of it sparingly. If you haven't got a base, you don't want to be using this up unnecessarily, because otherwise it's going to cost you dearly. He's added more details to the bears and the wolves, so there's more fur on the actual bears apparently, which you can't really see so clearly there, but you can actually tell the difference here. You can see a bit more fur around there, so a little bit more detail. New fishing line simulation, and it says this feature actually rolled out with a previous performance hotfix, but it deserves a mention as it makes fishing way more immersive, seeing the line tighten and jerk around as fish fight as you reel them in. So yeah, again, he's done a lot of work, and this guy is he's a credit to developers, and he's what early access should be all about. Developers working on their game and really bringing more depth into them and just amazing us. The thing is, though, is that it's a bit bizarre still that we still have these loot packs randomly around the world, and they tend to be really quite dependent on them. They still are a thing. Now he's saying here in the winter period, the amount of loot would be reduced. It says crates and dropped hunter kits have slightly less loot during the winter months. So in the winter time, if you're running around trying to gather these things, you're not going to get as much as you would expect to get, and could be a bit disappointed. And as for if you die or dropped kits from, I'm assuming that would apply to hunters as well. It says previously, if you exited your game without first gathering your gear or gathering dropped bags, they would be lost forever. But now he's said that he's got it so it saves, so when you come back to the game, you reload the game, they will still be where they were before, which is really good. Then there's some other details regarding servers and stuff. I don't really do the online stuff. Some little touch-ups that he's made regarding the transition between rivers to lakes. So as we see that it shows here as well, there's like a breaking line, which makes them a bit unnatural, but he's smoothed it out as well. There's just so much. There is a lot of stuff here for the Subsistence game, and I'm really quite excited to get into the game and actually just play again and just see what surviving in this new seasonal world is going to be like. And I think it's going to be really awesome, and I'm quite excited about it. And I can only imagine it won't be only be a matter of time before we have hunters, which, as we know, can navigate around their own bases. But I can imagine there's only going to be a matter of time before he has it so the hunters are able to not only attack your base as they already do, but actually get into your base and potentially attack you inside your base. I can imagine that's going to come at any time. It could be in the next few months, but it's just a matter of time, I reckon. But I think I'm going to leave it there for now. This has been a lot of news for Subsistence, and I'm excited about it, as you can tell, and I'm ready to dive in there. So I might start getting on with some gameplay this weekend. I do have a couple of other games which I've had keys sent to me by the devs for, which I'm quite excited to check out as well. So expect some more gameplay videos this weekend, new additions to my library on my channel. And yeah, I think I'm going to stop there because I've done a lot of talking. I'm sure your heads are hammered with all this information. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have, make sure you smash that like button and hit subscribe. And why not ring that little bell to be notified of future content. Oh, P.S. Why don't you throw down in the comments down below how is your survival going in the subsistence world? Have you tried this out yet, or are you on the fence still? Well, sound off in the comments down below. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll catch you next one. Bye.